Hello students, welcome to today's video lesson. Today we shall discuss the first story under Memories of Childhood titled The Cutting of My Long Hair. This is an autobiographical piece taken from the article The School Days of an Indian Girl by writer Gertrude Simons Bonin, who wrote under the pen name Zitkala-Sa. Gertrude Simons Bonin was a Native American, a Yankton, Dakota Sioux writer, editor, translator, musician, educator, and political activist. She wrote several works about her struggles with cultural identity and the conflict between the majority culture she was educated within and the culture she was born and raised in. Her works include several articles in fiction published in Harper's Monthly and Atlantic Monthly. Old Indian Legends is a collection of stories which she gathered from various Native American tribes. Let us now begin with the story. Based on true events, the story is the narrator's experience of being forcefully taken away from her Native American tribe or the indigenous tribe of America to a white American missionary school to be appropriated into the majority culture of whites. What we see here is the prejudice and the bias against the native indigenous people perpetrated by the white missionaries. The white Americans considered them to be the uncivilized and wanted to civilize and incorporate them into majority culture. She described waking up on a very cold morning on her first day at boarding school. The natural description given by her was equally gloomy, as it was bitterly cold with snow-covered grounds and bare trees. She was surrounded by many students of various age groups, and the noise created by their shoes annoyed her and disrupted her mental peace. Moreover, she did not understand English back then, and it made her uncomfortable being surrounded by people whose language she did not know. A pale-faced woman, who was most probably the school matron, accompanied them as they were taken to the dining hall in a single file. She noticed the other Native American or Indian girls who were dressed in the school uniform, which consisted of stiff shoes and closely fitted dresses. She felt both surprised and irritated that they were dressed according to the white American standards, which was considered immodest in their own tribe. The smaller girls, on the other hand, wore sleeved aprons and short hair. She also saw some Native American boys who were dressed in their uniforms and looked uncomfortable in them. The narrator was still in her soft moccasins but felt uncomfortable at the removal of her blanket from her shoulders, as it was a part of her traditional clothing. This illustrates how some of her traditions conflicted with some of her new school's rules. The meal began very systematically, with the ringing of bells and a step-by-step method. Being new to the place and unaware of the table manners of the boarding school, the narrator found herself in a fix as she mixed up when to sit, when to eat, and when to stand. Out of fear and discomfort, she began crying. She also noticed the matron's watchful eyes on her and felt uncomfortable. The eating by formula, as the narrator termed it, was not the hardest part of her day. She was soon warned by her friend Judwin, who understood a little bit of English, that the matron had decided to cut off their long, heavy braids. According to the Native American culture, only mourners and cowards had short hair. The unskilled warriors who were caught by the enemy had their hair shingled or cropped short. The narrator tried to rebel as she heard that her hair was to be chopped off. She refused to submit to the ways of the system without putting up resistance first. In her desperation to stop her hair from being chopped off, she hid under the bed of a room which was not familiar to her. It had 3 white beds and thick green curtains. She hid there with held breath and dreaded being found out. However, she was soon found and dragged out of there. Next, she was fastened to a chair and her braids were cut off. She resisted till the last moment by kicking and scratching wildly. She lost her fighting spirit when she heard the Caesars cutting off her braids. She felt herself succumb to the power of the majority. No one was there to comfort her or reason with her as her mother used to. The narrator recalled how she had been taken forcefully away from her mother and had been subjected to humiliation in various different ways. She had been stared at and tossed around in ways which were humiliating for a person. Thus we see how Zitkala-Sa recites her personal story to point out the difficulties that Native Americans have faced because of the white Americans in order to absorb into the white Americans' environment. Students, this is a lesson for all of us, both to be considerate and tolerant of differences and welcoming people who are different from us, as well as to keep resisting any undue pressure on us if we ever encounter an alien environment where we need to adapt. Remember that you can adapt to an environment without losing your individuality, legacy, and sense of cultural identity. With that, we come to the end of today's video lesson. We hope this helps you in your revision studies. See you soon in the recap and question and answer videos.